Hey everyone, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. In this video, we are going to look at the best credit cards of 2024. If you are looking to upgrade the credit cards you have, or maybe you're getting a credit card for the first time, this video is going to give you everything you want. Now, it's my belief that 90% of the credit card market is looking to keep things mostly simple, which means you want cashback credit cards that have no annual fee. So right up front, we're going to go with a 3 credit card lineup that meets those qualifications that you would consider. I am going to do these credit cards in the order that I would probably get them if I was going to get the whole 3 card lineup, and hopefully that is helpful. So first off, the thing to do is get yourself a 2% flat cashback credit card, which means you are going to get a 2% reward or 2% cashback on all of your purchases, regardless of what they are. You don't have to worry about any categories, anything like that. So that is the perfect base to start from. The 2 credit cards that I'm thinking of that you might choose between are the Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card and the Citi Double Cash credit card. Now, there are other 2% flat cashback credit cards on the market. I picked these 2 only because as I make this video, both of them offer a potential bonus to new card holders. So that's the Wells Fargo Active Cash or the Citi Double Cash. Number 2 in our 3 card lineup is the Blue Cash Everyday from American Express. No annual fee. You're getting 3% cash back on purchases at U.S. supermarkets on up to $6,000 per year. In those purchases, 3% back at U.S. gas stations on up to $6,000 per year. In those purchases, 3% on online retail purchases from U.S. companies, again on up to $6,000 per year. In those purchases, anything else that you purchase with the card would get you 1%. So pair this card with the 3% in multiple good categories, everyday categories, with a 2% flat cashback card, and that's a pretty good 2 card lineup. And then the 3rd card to complete the cashback no annual fee trifecta is the Citi Custom Cash Card, no annual fee. This card gives you 5% cash back in one purchasing category each billing cycle, and that is the purchasing category where you spend the most during that billing cycle on up to $500 of purchases in that category. So what that means is there are a bunch of preordained categories: restaurants, gas stations, travel, grocery stores, and a bunch of others too. Wherever you spend the most, you're going to get 5% cash back. Now, if you are paying attention, what that means is you could use this card just for the category where you want to get 5% cash back. At least that's how I do it. I generally use the Citi Custom Cash Card as my restaurant credit card to get 5% cash back on restaurant purchases. So take the Citi Custom Cash, combine it with the Blue Cash Everyday, and then the either Wells Fargo Active Cash Card or the Citi Double Cash Card, and what you have is 5% in one category of your choice. You've got 3% on grocery store purchases, 3% gas stations, 3% online shopping, and then 2% on everything else. So like I said, for 90% of the people, that is probably going to cover you. Good rewards on all of your purchases with no annual fee. Now, that means there are still 10% of the people that maybe still aren't quite satisfied. So what we're going to do is look at some more cashback credit cards that maybe you would even consider on top of those ones, or maybe in lieu of, depending on your needs. And then we'll also go down the travel points track for people that want to know more about that. That said, let's continue down the cashback track with a number of reward cards, again with no annual fee, that you might choose in lieu of or in addition to the cards we already talked about. First, 5 sort of Swiss Army knife cards that are going to give you enhanced rewards in a number of categories. There is the Capital One Savor One card that gives you 3% in a bunch of categories, including entertainment, which you don't see as much in the credit card market right now. You've got the Wells Fargo Autograph Visa, again 3% in a ton of different categories. With this one, US Bank Altitude Go, no annual fee. You're getting enhanced rewards in a number of categories, restaurants in particular, at 4%. And then you have the 2 AAA cards, the Daily Advantage Visa and the Travel Advantage Visa, where you can get either 5% on groceries with the Daily Advantage Visa, or you could get 5% on gas purchases or electric vehicle charging with the Travel Advantage card. And then they also have a ton of other places where you can get 3%. You do have to go through a AAA website essentially to get one of these cards, but you don't have to be a AAA member, which is a little confusing, but worth it. And I also should mention that those 4 cards we just talked about have no foreign transaction fees. So if you use them outside of the United States, you're not going to get charged anything extra. The first 3 cards that I talked about, that 3-card lineup, those all do have foreign transaction fees. So if you do any sort of regular traveling outside of the US, you're going to want to keep that in mind as well. Next, I want to mention the Bilt Rewards MasterCard, which actually doesn't fit neatly into the cashback or travel track exactly. You do earn points here that could go toward travel or other things with this card, but the reason I want to talk about it here is because if you are a renter, this is a card that allows you to earn rewards points on your rent payments, even if your landlord does not accept credit cards for rent. And Bilt has its own mechanism for that, which I won't describe here, but it doesn't matter. You can get rewards on your rent payments. Normally, landlords aren't going to take a credit card, or they're going to charge you more to take their credit card, but with Bilt, you can actually earn rewards and not pay anything extra. Now, if you want to take things even further on the cash back end, the next 4 cards are either rotating category cards or what I would consider sort of like choose your own adventure cards, where you can get enhanced rewards in certain categories, but maybe the card isn't quite as strong in other places. First off is the Chase Freedom Flex. Again, no annual fee. You're getting 5% cash back in certain categories that change each calendar quarter. So you do have to keep on top of where you're getting the 5%. Chase tells you, here's where you're getting the 5% this quarter, and then the quarter changes and they're going to tell you here's the new places where you can get 5%. Discover It. Also the same sort of 5% rotating category card. Again, Discover is going to tell you here's where you're going to get 5% in this quarter, and then next quarter that is going to change again. Discover tends to be pretty friendly to people who are newer to credit. So if you don't have a whole lot of credit history, if you find that you can't get approved for some of these other cards, Discover often is one that is more likely to approve you. So keep that in mind. You've got the US Bank Cash Plus card that gives you 5% cash back in 2 categories of your choosing. The Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards card gives you 3% in a category of your choosing and enhanced rewards in some other places as well. This card is especially strong if you are part of Bank of America's Preferred Rewards program, which hikes the percentage of your cash back if you have money with Bank of America in other deposit accounts. Let's also talk about a handful of cards tied to specific retailers. I don't always think that retail credit cards are a great way to go for a lot of people, but some cards might be no-brainers for you. First off, the Amazon Prime Visa. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, it is going to be a no-brainer because it's going to give you 5% back on your Amazon purchases, and then you can get enhanced rewards in some other categories as well. Even if you're not an Amazon Prime member, you can still get 3% back on Amazon purchases, so maybe you would consider it. The Target Red card is going to give you a 5% discount on all purchases at Target, so if you shop at Target frequently and you don't have the card, you're paying 5% more than everyone else. The Walmart credit card, not quite as much of a no-brainer, but depending on your situation, it might be one that you want to pick up. Same thing with the Costco Visa, the Sam's Club credit card, and also the Verizon Visa. If you shop frequently at Costco, their card's pretty good, but you don't have to have it if you have good rewards cards. Otherwise, same thing with the Sam's Club MasterCard, and same thing with the Verizon Visa. You've got some good rewards on all of those cards, but depending on what else is in your wallet, you may or may not want to pick those up. Now let's shift gears to travel rewards credit cards. Like I said, most people are going to be happier with cash back because it's easier to understand and you can use cash in a million different ways. With travel points or miles, you have to figure out how to maximize those rewards. For some people, they love that game. For other people, it is not worth the time and effort to do so. So you got to decide which you are. If you're going the travel rewards credit card route, you're probably going to want to choose one of 2 paths. Number 1, you might get a card or cards from specific airlines or hotel chains, or you might choose instead to get a card that gives you flexible points that you can use toward a lot of different types of travel. If you are someone that flies with a specific airline often, or you stay at a particular hotel chain often, you might prefer to go for a credit card from one of those airlines or hotel chains, because not only are you going to get rewarded for those flights and those stays, maybe more so than you would with other cards, but you're also going to get extras, whether that is free checked bags, or it is getting early on the flight, or it is free breakfast at the hotel. So there are going to be a lot of cards that out there specific to the hotel chains or airlines. Pretty much every single airline or hotel chain has at least one card. Many of them have more than one. So if you have an airline or hotel chain that you use regularly, you'll want to go down the path of looking at their specific credit cards. It would take all day to go into them all in this type of video. Now the second path, like I said, is flexible rewards points credit cards, which probably for most people is the way to go. And so we're going to delve further into those now. Now, when it comes to flexible travel points, the two big dogs, as far as I'm concerned, are Chase and American Express, although there are other cards and companies that we'll talk about as well. Chase has its Ultimate Rewards program. American Express has the Membership Rewards program. If you are new to travel credit cards, I would say you probably want to start with Chase. They are a little more user-friendly, get a little more flexibility in terms of how you use your points, and the annual fees on the credit cards from American Express are going to be maybe a little higher and mean that you're going to be a little more committed. So you want to know what you're doing with American Express's points sort of before you dive in head first. Where with Chase, you can kind of dip your toe in the water, and if you find out it's not working for you, you haven't paid quite as much to be part of the program. The Chase Sapphire Preferred is the place to start for most people if you follow my advice to go the Chase route. A $95 annual fee, but for most people, assuming you meet the spending threshold up front, you're going to get a nice big bonus in terms of a whole lot of points, and then you're going to earn rewards that are pretty decent on an everyday basis. But even more so, the Chase Sapphire Preferred is going to allow you to sort of unlock Chase's travel transfer partners, which means you can transfer the points you earn from Chase into the frequent flyer or hotel programs of companies like Southwest, United, Hyatt, Marriott, and a bunch more as well. Or you could use your points through Chase's travel portal, which is sort of an Expedia-like experience, and you'll get an extra 25% in value out of those points, meaning essentially a point is going to be worth 1.25 cents when you use it in that way. In addition, with Chase's credit cards, you can combine points from other cards. So when you think of the Chase Freedom Flex that I mentioned earlier, a no annual fee card, the points you earn on that card, which could be 5 points per dollar already, you could combine with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and you could either use those with a travel transfer partner, or you could use those through the portal and get even more value out of those. So the Chase Freedom Flex, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, use those with your Chase Sapphire Preferred and you can find a whole lot of value. And then if you are a little bit more of a road warrior, Chase also has the Sapphire Reserve, which is going to have a higher annual fee, but it's going to give you more travel credits. It's going to give you access to an airport lounge network, a lot more going on with that, but you are going to want to be someone that travels often and probably spends quite a bit on your credit cards as well in order for that card to work for you. Now let's talk about American Express and their Membership Rewards program. Some people like this program much more than what Chase has to offer. I find it a little less flexible, but some people would tell you that the points from American Express can be worth a heck of a lot more than Chase, especially if you travel internationally. If you want a business class seat on some sort of long haul flight, you might be able to find great value out of American Express's points. Now again, that might mean that you have to do a little more work. And then the other thing with American Express is if you want to earn a decent number of points, you're probably going to have to make a little more of a commitment in terms of an annual fee to get one of their sort of flagship cards. So you've got the American Express Platinum with a $695 annual fee. You've got the American Express Gold with a $250 annual fee. And then you also have the Green, which I believe has a $150 annual fee as I make this video. So all of these are going to mean that you're paying a little more upfront, but you'll get a big bonus as long as you meet the threshold spend in order to earn that bonus, and then you'll get a lot of extras with these cards. So you can earn decent rewards with the Platinum card, at least on travel purchases, but even more so, you're gonna have all sorts of credits that you might get from this card, including Uber credits, certain hotel chains. You can get sort of upgrades and things of that nature. There's so much tacked onto the American Express Platinum that you need to look at every detail and figure out whether the amount that you're paying for the card makes sense for you. It will make more sense if you spend an awful lot on the card. Same thing with the American Express Gold, although that's a little more accessible in terms of earning a lot of points on your more everyday purchases, and it also has various credits as well. So if those credits are really good in terms of how you spend, and they are going to sort of overcome that annual fee from the American Express cards, well then great. That means you're going to have a card that you really like, and you're going to have points if you are willing to do the work to find those great travel bargains that you can use and get outsized value out of. Again, for a lot of people, American Express probably more work than they want to do, but for some people, that is the sweet spot. Now, Chase and American Express are not the only games in town. I also want to talk about the Capital One Venture X and the US Bank Altitude Reserve here. The Capital One Venture X has a $395 annual fee, but you're getting $300 in travel credits, and after the first year, every year that you pay that annual fee again, you're going to get 10,000 points thrown into your account. You're going to earn 2 points per dollar on all of the purchases that you make with this card. Capital One does not have as extensive of a travel transfer partner network like the others, but they do have a pretty good travel portal to use your points in, and the value proposition overall is pretty nice with that card with all the credits you're getting back, and it gives you access to an airport lounge network at a lower price point than most of the other credit cards that are out there in the market. US Bank Altitude Reserve is a card that some people really love as well. You've got good earnings on this card. You've got some good extras as well, so make sure you check that out. All right, so that's a lot to think about, a lot of cards to choose between, but I should say that for some people watching this video, if you don't have a credit history, or maybe you have a shaky credit history, all or most of those cards may not be available to you. So I want to talk briefly about what you might do. If you are new to credit, you have a couple options. If you are a student, a college student, well, there are a ton of college student credit cards geared just for you. Capital One and Discover in particular are places that you might go. The Discover It card for students is one that they are constantly sending solicitations out for. Capital One also a good chance that you'll be approved for one of their cards. I like their Saver One card for students. Now, if you're not a student and you don't have a credit history, you might also still look at Capital One and Discover because they are known to be a little easier on people that don't have a credit history. You're still probably going to want to try Discover and Capital One if your credit history is not great. If you have burned them in the past, well then obviously they might not give you a credit card, but Capital One with their Platinum card in particular is a place that many people start off with. If you have a little more problems, maybe the Quicksilver One, which has an annual fee attached to it but does give you rewards, is maybe something that you can get approved for. Same thing on the Discover end. Maybe you can get approved for there depending on how low your credit score is. Mission Lane is another company that has come out in the last few years that serves sort of that fair to bad credit market, so you might want to look at them as well. Now, if none of those recommendations work for you, a word of warning here. There are many bottom feeder credit cards out there that are targeting people with bad credit, and their cards are going to have super high annual fees. They're going to have super high interest rates. They're going to have very low credit limits, but they are going to kind of want to take advantage of the position that you are in. In that case, go for a secured credit card instead. These cards are going to force you to have a refundable security deposit that you have to pay up front in order to get the card. But again, that is refundable, which means as long as you pay your bills on time, if you no longer want the card or if you graduate to an unsecured card, you're going to get that security deposit back. And oftentimes you're going to be building a credit history with a more reputable credit card company. So the Discover It secured card in particular is one that I often recommend because of the fact that this is a card that often does graduate within like 8 to 12 months oftentimes. So even if you put down that deposit, you can think that as long as you pay your bills on time and you're showing Discover that you are doing a good job with that credit card, they're going to make it an unsecured card, give you that money back oftentimes in a fairly short period of time. It's not guaranteed, but that's often how it works out. And there are other secured cards on the market as well. And then finally, we haven't talked about business credit cards at all. So if you're a small business owner, there are a ton of cards that are geared toward you specifically. Chase and American Express are the two companies that I think of as having the best lineup of business cards. The Chase Inc. cards, there's a lot to choose from, including no annual fee cards or cards that do have an annual fee but more rewards and that sort of thing. Same thing with American Express. You've got some decent no annual fee cards, and then if you want to get into things like the business American Express Platinum or the business Amex Gold, that's another way to go as well. Capital One has an okay business card lineup. They did add a Venture X business version within the last year, which is very close to the Venture X consumer card. So if that's attractive to you and you're a small business owner, you might consider that as well. All right, it's tough to cover a whole credit card market, even when you talk as fast as I do, without leaving out a lot of details. So make sure you do more research on any card that you are considering getting. If you have questions further, put those in the comments section section below and I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you're not going to leave a comment or you're not going to go to the website, you might want to watch next this video.